Can you guys hear us now on Facebook? I'll just wait till somebody gives us the go, because I don't know if it's us or if it's Facebook. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are wonky on social land today. Okay, let me wait. I know there's a little delay. Thanks for your patience, Periscope. Okay, Sarah, you can hear us. So it must have been our mic.
Can you hear that?
No, it's not plugged in. All right, cool. Thanks, you guys. Well, welcome to HOL Talks. The audio might not be the greatest today once we upload it to the podcast. So thanks for your forgiveness. Anyway.
So we can't use the mics?
No.
Nice.
But they can hear us.
All right.
You like the mic?
I like wearing the mic. I'm going to pretend I'm going to speak into the mic, even though you can't. It doesn't really work. All right.
Okay.
Proceed.
Let's go. Your hair looks good. You got your haircut. You guys hop over to Facebook and see the picture I posted this morning of the flashbacks to like 8 years ago.
Back when I was in my hair metal band. Yeah, when I was in a hair metal band.
Hey, are you excited that I'm wearing a plaid shirt?
Yeah, well, it is fall.
I have at least one plaid shirt for every day of November. So I'm going to wear one every day, just so you know. I might have to buy a few more.
Now that the audience is bored, let's move on.
I hope all of our Canadian friends had a nice Thanksgiving. Did you guys happen to catch the blog that I posted? I blogged on some of the best ways to activate your senses over Thanksgiving, just with what you're cooking in the kitchen and what you're smelling in your home. So I gave you some really fun ideas, just things that we do around our house on that weekend. So if you're in the US, then you can hop over and take a look at that post. Maybe it'll give you some ideas. I also, just a few things before we go into today's content. So we won't be on next week because we will be in Kelowna doing the doTERRA post-convention tour. So I will pull an episode from the vault and upload it to iTunes. And I also wanted to just do one last mention that the next run of my Whole-Fit Ready, Set, Glow Detox is happening October 23rd to the 29th. My assistant Jill will post the link in the Facebook thread there. We'll also have it in the show notes on iTunes. So we have thousands of people doing this round, and it's going to be great. Can't wait. So looking forward to that. So you can hop over and join us if you'd like. And I did share more details on that last week. So we were talking this morning, and we thought about opening up with just a conversation on what we see happening in business and in various arenas, in various systems today. We're talking about doing more than what's required of us. So how many of you can think of a situation or an experience you've been in lately as a customer where you just felt like the person helping you or serving you did like the bare minimum requirement, the bare minimum job description, like having that punch in, punch out mentality when it comes to their job? Post in the comments, like what is a recent experience you had that left you underwhelmed, where in this day and age where job security is not really a thing anymore, right? It shocks me that in the customer service industry, for example, in any industry really, you're seeing still people who aren't giving more than that little bit that's expected or that job description. What are your thoughts on this topic?
Well, I would say, to describe it a little bit more in depth, is when you have an expectation of someone that they have a job or their job is to do something, and you expect them to be better than they are, to do the job better than you expected, and you come away from it feeling like, wow, I put so much faith in that person because they have this job, right? They have this requirement or this responsibility to do better and be better, and they don't, and you walk away with it, and then you start looking at other things in your life and other experiences in your life where you think, wow, this has become the new social norm, that just doing enough, and I like I said this morning, metaphorically, I call it punching in at 9, leaving at 5, and all I'm worried about is what I'm going to have for dinner that night. Tuning out and just making sure that I just put the bare minimum of work and effort and personality into that day, leaving, wiping my hands clean and saying, I'm done, I'll be back tomorrow. Now, I don't want to get specific into, I'm not talking about the service industry or any type of industry, but it all sort of relates to this feeling of just low expectations for a job getting done.
Yeah, and we see it heavily in the customer service industry. A lot of people are commenting on Periscope about that's where they really see it, where it's just like, you can't believe sometimes the experiences you're having in a day where it's quite competitive in the workforce, and yet people are still being hired that just don't seem to care about what they do. And the bigger problem is not so much that, but it's a society of people who are clearly not fulfilled in the work they're doing. They don't love what they do, even if that is just, taking the garbage out or cleaning dishes. I mean, it really starts there for a lot of us, where our very first jobs are in like the restaurant industry, doing things that we're not maybe going to do the rest of our life, but it's the level of excellence you bring to the smallest things that end up creating your work ethic as an adult, right? A lot of you are mentioning the school system. Like, that's a system today where, and I mean, there are a lot of really great teachers, just like there are a lot of really great doctors within the healthcare industry that really care about the work that they do. There are still those people. We've been fortunate to have wonderful teachers for our girls.
Yeah.
That really didn't just come into work that day and do the babysit kids in the class. Like, you could tell they were really invested and cared about our kids. But there unfortunately seems to be that the majority of people in positions today that are in a position of where we put our trust in them, whether it be doctors or teachers, for example, where you can just see that they're really just doing the minimal effort within their job.
I always say, go back to when, and I'm assuming this audience is not, I don't want to say older, but go back to when you were a kid and remember what you thought about, a policeman, a doctor, a teacher, a fireman, the guy that owned the store, the manager at the Zellers or the Wilco or the Woolworths or Consumers Distributor. And you
have to be Canadian to know those.
Yeah. And think about when you were a kid, that expectation you had of these people. You looked up to them. You had this feeling of, well, they're not going to do me wrong because that person's in a job of authority, and they're going to look out for me in my best interests. And it's something that I feel like is sort of gone by the way of the. It's definitely gone by the way of the past. And I noticed up here looking at some of the comments as well, I think there's a big difference between what we're talking about right now and sort of what we talked about last week, but it's sort of a gray area, that feeling of entitlement. I think it's two different, it's the same family, but it's a different bloodline for sure. Entitlement to me is that feeling of what we talked about last week of like, well, I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done anything, but I deserve. Whereas this is more along the lines of, the guy above me is not doing it, so why should I do it? Or I'm not getting paid extra to do anything, so why am I going to go that extra mile, or answer that last phone call, or call that person back, or do anything like that? I like what you're saying about that entitlement, but it's sort of, it bridges it a little bit. It's sort of the same, like I said, it's the same family, but it's a different sort of topic.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Well, totally. I mean, entitlement's a big part of it. And I guess what spurred this conversation was just some situations we've had personally with things, in customer service and within the healthcare industry within the last couple of weeks. And it got me thinking about this, but I definitely see it in business. Susie's considered that as a manager at towers and Zellers for over 30 years. He took so much pride in his job and loved his customers more than anything. So great that you brought up that point.
Well, that's what I remember. That's how I remember growing up, is you
Yeah.
always had that faith or that trust in someone that was ahead of you in the workplace or whatever like that. And you trusted them to do the right thing for you. But now, you know, again, you can look everywhere and you get this feeling that, you know what, I have to sort of be my own advocate here if I want to get anything done for myself, or I need someone to really like do the job that I want done, but I kind of have to let them know how to do their job, which you know, years ago you wouldn't think about that, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually got into a pretty, well, we'll get into that later. Go ahead.
Now, I was just thinking as you said that, because this is actually what draws a lot of people to want to become an entrepreneur. Right. Comment or tap on Periscope. How many of you got into the work you're doing today? And a lot of you are entrepreneurs, or micro entrepreneurs, we might call it, where you're doing something, even if it's just part-time right now, to have your own business. Maybe it's doTERRA, so that eventually you're not at the mercy of people and systems within like a corporation that don't share the same beliefs as you do on this topic. Because as an entrepreneur, you want to be able to take ownership of what you know and what you want to bring to a space where other people aren't doing more than the minimal effort, okay? And this is why you would succeed as being an entrepreneur. It is the hardest job, like being a mother, because you really do get out of it what you put in. Nobody does well as an entrepreneur if they are not putting in the work and willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do. You will always notice people that do more than what is expected of them. I want you guys to all think of somebody right now, maybe in your team or in your upline, maybe they're a mentor of yours, that does more than what's expected. I want you guys to hold them in your space right now. So think of that person, bring them into your awareness, and then I want you to, this week, I want you to take notes, because successful people in business, they always leave clues. And what those clues often look like are the little things that they're willing to do that others are not, okay? And I'm gonna give you some examples. I know a lot of you are building a doTERRA business, and I wanna give you some examples of how I see this show up in doTERRA, okay? But I want you to really, think about that person, and I want you to make an effort this week to study them and to notice how they communicate, how they show up and serve people. What are their conversations about? How do you feel in their presence? Because people who are doing more than what's expected of them, you're getting a taste of greatness, because it's so rare in our world. It is so rare. And I wanted to look at a bit of the breakout pattern that we see in doTERRA, okay? And if you're not building a doTERRA business, that's okay. I really feel that doTERRA is a great business, is a great example of what happens when you do more than just everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. We see it in doTERRA. So I want to share this with you, even if you're not building a doTERRA business, or even if you're not in your own business, you can take something from this conversation. So here are just some interesting stats, okay? About 75% of the millions of people in doTERRA are customers. So it's actually, and some of you might know this, doTERRA is in the network marketing business stream. It has to be that way. A lot of you understand why it has to be that way, because it's such a unique product line. It's natural healthcare, and you need community around that type of movement. You can't just go buy it off the shelf and come home and know what you're doing. So it had to be in this model. However, doTERRA is completely flip-flopped to every other business in network marketing. From what I have studied, from my experience, almost every other company, and there are hundreds of thousands of network marketing companies out there. I don't know if you guys know that. It is the number one way product reaches homes today, is through this model. So of the hundreds of thousands of companies out there, the majority of them take a reverse of what doTERRA is doing. They actually talk heavily about the business. They're constantly encouraging people to consider entrepreneurship for themselves. They're recruiting people to do the business, and then they tuck a product into that. So typically, the product is not stellar. It probably is unique in some way, but it's not something people are commonly going to use their whole life. So doTERRA is 75%, maybe even a little bit higher now, because they introduced this new option last year where people could actually get started just as a customer with no interest in doing the business, okay? So this is changing. It's probably even more than 75% of the millions. So with this being the largest movement within the natural health industry, okay, being led by doTERRA, this is led by 25% of the company. 25% of those millions, okay? And there are 15 leadership levels in doTERRA, okay? So that gives you a first glance at what's happening. Now, when we look at the levels within doTERRA, so that of that 25%, less than, like, I think it's like 0.17% of people who do this business will ever go to the highest level, the highest leadership level, known as presidential diamond, okay? So currently, of the millions of people in doTERRA, there are about 45 presidential diamonds. Now, that is not a leadership level that is a goal for everybody. Of course not, because it requires a lot of clarity. It requires a lot of ownership. It requires a high drive to serve people and to lead a movement, okay? That is somebody who has in their heart, they are here to be a presidential diamond. Now, the majority of people in doTERRA make it to, if they're really focused on building their business, they make it to the rank of silver. That would be kind of the first real leadership rank in doTERRA. And, you know, it is where it's a relatively easy rank to get to if you just don't quit the business. But what really moves people beyond silver rank is a commitment to greatness, is a commitment to developing themselves and doing more than what's expected of them. Because I really do think if you were somebody who loves your oils, you love natural health and this lifestyle, and you just want to help people, and you don't quit that, you will hit silver rank. Like, it's inevitable, because you don't really have to take a strong leadership posture to hit that rank. But beyond that, the reason that people stay stuck in the ranks in doTERRA, I want to give you just some thoughts that I pulled this morning, okay? Do you have any thoughts before I keep going?
You're good.
Are you learning?
Yeah, I'm learning.
Okay, number one. So here's what we see is the mentality of someone in doTERRA that will be successful, that will build the silver and beyond. This is their mentality, okay? They out-teach and they out-serve everyone else at their current rank. So it probably makes people uncomfortable to know people at the higher ranks in a movement, or in doTERRA, for example, that are still out there educating and sharing passionately, even though they don't have to. This ruffles feathers, because a lot of people want to think that success is about getting in and getting out, and just, you know, being an overnight success and having fame. And, you know, they think it's about that, when actually it's about living a fulfilling, purpose-filled life, right? This is what we see at the higher ranks. So when somebody is just getting started in doTERRA and they are committed to teaching and sharing and educating others and adding value, and they integrate this into their schedule, and they do it especially after they have something that they think was a fail happen, like a class where no one shows up, but they commit to showing up every week and they're consistent, they move forward. The second thing we see is they do the little things that other leaders aren't doing. So someone who is going to tap into greatness would constantly be nurturing their community. And because I explained to you at the beginning that 75% at least in doTERRA are customers, huge customer base, right? Of people who love their oils and just want to live a healthy, happy life. The leader that is great always takes care of their community. They're checking in. So maybe they check in every month or every couple of months to see how someone's enjoying their oils and see if they have any questions. They would likely send snail mail, okay? They're gonna do things that other people aren't doing. They're gonna send a welcome package to somebody when they get started. Maybe what I personally like to do is send somebody a little usage guide, a little note from me, and a bunch of samples that they didn't get in their initial kit, because I know that's a nice gesture and it's unexpected. They might put a handwritten card in the mail for somebody on their team that's just hit their 1-year mark using the oils. Little things like that that do not go unnoticed, okay? Jump in anytime.
No, you're good. No, you're good. You're good.
The third thing they might do is create consistent opportunities for their customers and eventually their leaders to grow. Because if you are committed to greatness, you are somebody who is committed to your own development and to the development of other people. So you absolutely fill your car and go to events that are going to develop you and your community, and especially your leaders if you're in a role where you want to grow in your leadership. You look for the good in others. You catch people doing really rad things, like you recognize people on your team when they teach their first class or when they have enrolled their first person into doTERRA. Like you look for those little opportunities to recognize greatness in others. That's what a great leader will do. You know that the bare minimum effort is defined by a lot of talking and little doing.
Now that's one of my favorites. One of my favorite sayings, and I say that a lot around here too, right?
Yeah.
Now,
if you can lean, you can clean.
Yeah, if you can. That's what I tell my kids. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
I used to say that jokingly when I ran Starbucks stores.
Well, there's no joking in this sense when it time comes to that. No, to jump in on your point about talking versus doing. That's always sort of been something that I've always been brought up on, and I see it more and more, and I think to myself, like, yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect way of talking, because I see it a lot. I see it a lot online, a lot of talking, but at the end of the day, where are the results? Where are the results of all this talking? Where's the doing part? And that's the one thing you don't want to get caught up in. If you want to be a true leader, and you want to be someone that people will follow, don't be the person that just talks all the time, because at the start, it's going to look good on you, and you're going to get by for a while. And people will think you're wonderful and, oh my goodness, like this person's got it all down. Trust me, at some point, 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years from now, that house of cards is going to come crumbling down on you. And people will look at you and go like, man, that was a lot of talk from you, but I didn't really get the results. I didn't really see the results you had. And you can actually find people and look back and everyone knows this person. Everyone has seen this person online or social media or whatever like that, where there's just a lot of talking and not much doing. And you might be that person yourself. I'm that person. I'm guilty of that.
We all are.
Yeah, we're all
guilty of that.
And
there are times I find when I need to like inspire myself. Do you guys ever feel that way? Where you might be in a bit of a funk, and so you'll post something to kind of get yourself into action, right? Like that would be the form it takes for myself when I'm not in action, but it has to be followed by action.
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, like, again, I hate getting on here and feeling that I'm preaching to someone, have the right answers. We have all the answers to leadership and everything else, because that's not true. But we can describe all this because we've gone through it, and we go through it every single day, right? Every week. Everyone has their moments. And to get back to my point of talking versus doing, I'm guilty of it as well. But I always go back to that point of talking versus doing. And I think to myself, like, now I'm that guy. I'm the guy who's made the promises and made the effort to do something, but at the end of the day, all I'm doing is talking about it. I'm not really doing it. So I look back on that and I think, okay, I gotta get going, because I can't say this, I can't preach this, I can't live this lifestyle and not actually do it. So that's one of the sort of mantras that I have to myself when I feel like I'm going.
It doesn't feel good to operate out of that. You know, we're always like, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, you're always saying you'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. Like, or you're, you know, maybe you're in a leadership position, and how you think you're supposed to lead a team is just by constantly posting things for your team, but not out there actually, you know, out in the field doing the work. Like, I see it a lot, because we can see so much now on social media and we can really present so much, but the leaders that are growing, they're doing these things behind the scenes. They're not always talking about it online. They're in action behind the scenes, and their results show it. Right?
Yeah, the results come from little things that nobody hears about and no one will ever see. It's the person who gets the package in the mail from, I don't know where. It's that new leader, or it's that new person joining your team that gets the small sample package who thinks, wow, they're doing the small things to make this happen, to make them feel welcome. It's not the person going online going, oh, look at all these things going out. Everyone's going to be lucky and everyone's going to get this. And it's like, no, just do it. Don't talk about it. Do it. And that's where you're going to get your results, because the more you talk, the less time you're spending on your people and your own job and everything else to get the actual job done and make people feel welcome and be a leader. Like talking, anyone can talk. I'm talking right now. You may listen, you may not listen, whatever, and think this guy's full of whatever. But at the same time, that talking doesn't equal results, right?
You're right. I knew you'd like this topic.
All right.
I have 3 more, and then we're going to go into Q&A.
All right.
Amanda, yes, the lives will be saved in the video section of the Whole Fit brand page on Facebook or Whole Fit Talks on iTunes. Okay, 3 more I wanted to just touch on and hear your thoughts. Please bring your thoughts to this conversation. Yeah. It's important that we from time to time check in on what kind of leader we are being, right? That, where can we take more action and do less talking within that example? So the next one I want to bring up is they never expect somebody else to build their business for them. So just go back and listen to our topic last week on entitledness, which does touch on this, but it's those are like the people in our business that they stay at a rank for like 10 years, they'll be there in 10 years. They won't have moved because deep down, they're hoping that someone else is going to come along and save them. Someone else is going to do something for them, or they're going to get lucky. Point number whatever, I don't know, I've got 2 more. They're very connected to why they're doing this business, because the reality is you are constantly going to have hard days that come up throughout your life when you're in business, even if you're in the best business ever, okay? You're gonna have days where you just don't feel like you can do it. It's important that we practice the art of resting and pausing without quitting, without just completely walking away from something. And what really helps you stay the course is having a very strong connection to why you started in the first place. I think it's so important when you're drawn to an opportunity, when people come to me and say they want to start sharing these oils with people because they've had such a radical life change because of them, I really try to work with them and encourage them to, before they do anything else, tap into what their vision is of what this could be. For them, for their family, what is their reason for wanting to share these? Because when they have that day where they want to quit or they get really stuck, they need to come back to that. And that's what just kind of keeps you on track, And it's why the people that you see growing, they will always be growing because they're very connected to that. And then I think last one. This is an important one, okay? They work through the initial tests of greatness, such as honoring their time and their focus, healthy boundaries with people. They ask for help without guilt. And I want you to remember, I said these are the initial tests of greatness. Every one of you will be tested in the areas I'm talking right now. And it's important that you understand it's all part of the plan, because in order to live out your legacy and your purpose, you have to recognize how important these things are that I'm talking about. Honoring your time and focus, healthy boundaries, asking for help without guilt, self-care, and knowing, this is the last one, knowing that financial health is just as important as physical or emotional health in order for you to have the greatest impact. Because here's what I see happening with people who I know are here to do great work. They pause or get stuck the minute they start to feel successful, recognized through wealth, okay? It makes them uncomfortable. because they were raised thinking that that is a bad thing. It is so important, and the people that are here to lead this movement and to create true change in our world, they have got to be free of these anchors, and debt is an anchor for you. You cannot bless other people and be in service to other people at a great level if you feel weird about being financially free. Okay, so those are little tests, and you will all go through them, and you do not get to the next level without truly working through that test.
And I would say one of the biggest things that you can learn, the biggest word you could learn when you're going through this, is the word no.
Yeah.
Just say no. You can just say no to some people and not worry about, oh, they're going to be mad at me, or, and that's what you were talking about with boundaries on your time, and that pressure that everyone feels that, I have to do this one more thing for this person or everything. No, just say no. You can say no. And it feels so good sometimes. Don't always be the person saying yes to everything. Because if you start saying yes to everything, people will walk all over you. And they know that you will be the person you can come to who will never say no to doing something. And then the next thing you know, you find yourself, you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning working on something, and you think to yourself, what am I doing? My health is deteriorating. Everything's going down the drain because I don't have the ability to say no or say no to someone. And that's a big, big factor. Once you say it once, it feels good, and you can do it. You can definitely do it. Try it. Mm-hmm. And it sets those boundaries. When you say no to someone, it sets those boundaries of like, well, you know what? They just dropped a wall on me. I can't get by it, so I know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, people will take what you give.
Yeah.
And if you're overgiving, don't confuse overgiving with providing value.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in order to provide true value, you have to have a really good, healthy boundary self-care routine in place. And then you show up and serve, right? What really helped me with that, I've talked a lot. You guys can go through my YouTube channel. I talk a lot about protecting your focus and your time. It's what I'm most known for, probably within leadership. Saying no for me took on different forms a couple of years ago, but I started small. I stopped apologizing for things that were not my fault. As women, that's a really common one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to ask you for this, or I'm sorry that you ran into me with your grocery cart. Like we do it all the time. We're over apologizing, right? So that's start with like the small areas in your life and notice how they affect the bigger picture. Okay, so we've got some great questions in the queue that I wanted. I took 3 from the queue I've got in front of me. I don't think I showed you these beforehand, but I love your comments. And Nick, that is awesome. You guys take a moment to read Nick's comment over on Facebook. Just a great example of somebody who took a chance on herself. And it has led to great things. So that's awesome. Okay, first question up. Hi, Ange, I'm your fan. I'm a doTERRA founder in Mexico, and I'm trying to reach Diamond this month. Please give me some advice. And if you have any leaders that speak Spanish and need some help, please contact me. Well, that's sweet of you. Thank you. Okay, so awesome. I love your goal. And Diamond is such an incredible rank in doTERRA. For those of you unfamiliar with it, it's a level that is reached through attracting and mentoring 4 people to step into a higher belief of themselves, known as silver rank. Okay, so a doTERRA leader that is Diamond has worked with 4 people to create a silver business. That's how you achieve Diamond. So the level of Diamond in doTERRA is reflected through your ability to lead a movement. Every rank level in doTERRA has a different theme to it, okay? And in my notes, I've got it shown here. You guys can just look this image up. I believe it's the Belief, Action, Results mountain in doTERRA. It shows the different ranks, right? And what is really going on at that rank level. But for a silver leader, which a Diamond leader would need 4 of, they need to have a stronger belief in themselves. So if you are somebody looking to build a Diamond business like this person in Mexico, then you're creating opportunities for your leaders, your soon-to-be 4 silver leaders, you're creating opportunities for them to have a higher belief in themselves through giving them opportunities to develop and build confidence and to recognize them. I think one of the best ways to do this is to host local events where your leaders can come and speak and maybe be on a stage for the first time and really step into who they're here to be. Silver is like the first time people start to let go and shed those fears of what's, who they're really here to be, and to not worry so much about what that's going to look like, and know that it's going to get figured out as they grow, but they're committed to that. Okay. So it's really working with your team, right? It's working with your leaders to create a diamond team. And it's an honor to be part of a leadership team that is growing. It's an honor, and your leaders will be excited to build this with you, because it's awesome. So you have a game plan in place. If the confidence level is there with your 4 leaders, they're ready to go silver because you've been doing this, then it's about a tight game plan. And you work backwards from your goal. If your goal is the end of this month to achieve the level of diamond, then you're planning twice as many classes, events, one-on-ones with people as you think you're going to need. Because as a pro, you know that things always fall through the cracks. There will always be things that don't go as planned. So you do double time in your planning. You overcommit to what is actually going to be needed. Okay, so you load up the next couple weeks. It's only October 11th at the time of this recording. So, you have a couple of weeks still to have a lot of action happening. As the leader going diamond, your personal routine and how you're spending your time over these next 2 weeks is super important. So you want to make sure that you're dialing up your all of the elements of the health wheel. So your physical health is important right now. Your nutrition, taking your supplements, being very mindful of where you're spending your time and who you're giving it to. You need to scrub your calendar and make sure that there is nothing on there that does not support your goal of hitting diamond. Because it's a really exciting time. I will always remember the month December 2 years ago when we hit presidential diamond.
Right.
I will never forget that month. It was December. We were in a place that we love in Florida, and I had a solid game plan, and my leaders were pumped. Like we were like in it to win it, guys. And everything was dialed up. Now, not all of my leaders were were in the best shape of their life and eating all the healthy things. They weren't all as dialed in as I was focused on being, but that's okay, because as a leader, I knew what was going to be required of me. And I definitely wasn't expecting more from them than what I knew they could give. I was expecting a lot more of myself than what I had done in the past. And I will never forget it. It was beautiful, and I'll rarely do these opportunities come along where you get the chance to up level like this with other people and just celebrate like this. It'll happen just a couple of times in your lifetime of doTERRA at the higher ranks, right? So enjoy it. And use this as an opportunity to really up level in your growth, in your self-care, in your fitness, all those things.
Right.
Okay, second question. Well, this is a good one. Okay, it says, hey Ange, I'm curious why with so many lifestyle choices that would be deemed unconventional, why did you make the decision to send your children into the mainstream schooling system? How do you help your kids understand the choices you make in your lifestyle when they are learning otherwise at school? For example, the food guide, vaccinations, not encouraging students to be entrepreneurs. This is a really juicy question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should take this first, but I do want to say, I think our kids live in a pretty nice bubble at home.
At home, yeah, for sure. For sure. There's so much with this whole mainstream schooling and private schooling and everything else like that. I don't really get that emotional about it. I've seen some kids that do the homeschooling thing. I've seen the kids that go to the Montessori's and everything else like that. And I don't see a difference in kids. Kids are kids. They're resilient. I think they're a lot more resilient than we are. And it gets a little dicey with me. And if I'm going to be honest about this, it seems like whenever this topic comes up, it always seems a little upper class or bourgeois or whatever, when you talk about bringing your kids to this school and everything else like that. Like, I don't want to get into that. Our kids are little, kids are small, they can figure it out for themselves. And I think a lot of the times it's the adults who just want to say, yeah, well, we're here, or we're at this academy, or whatever like that. And again, I go back to the point that kids are so much more resilient and they can figure stuff out on their own. I don't think that, I think that having kids in a mainstream school is good because they have every opportunity and they see every different type of culture, every different type of class, every different type of teacher. You got old teachers, young teachers, middle teachers, all these kids from all these different neighborhoods. I grew up in a neighborhood that was full of kids. We all went to the same school. And I know I'm harking back to the old days and back in the day and everything else like that. But I just, quite simply, I don't want to see my kids being in the same group of kids that they are. And then what I mean by that is you get these kids who go to the non-mainstream schools, their parents have taught them the same thing. They're all the same kids talking about the same thing and doing the same thing and studying the same thing, going home to their house that is basically probably the same house, the same income level. They still see the same things on TV. It's to me, they need a bit of variety. And I think, and now not everyone's going to agree with this, it toughens them up a little bit. They see the best. Unfortunately, they see the worst in people. They see the people who have, and our girls have brought home problems where they feel sorry for someone or they say this is going on in their house. But it gives them a chance to learn that, you know what, girls, you're not going to be in a bubble your whole entire life. And I've grown up with the guys that have gone to those schools, come out of those schools, and guess what? They're getting their lunch money taken as adults.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. And again, if you want to talk about
this is totally Patrick.
Oh well,
yeah. No, I agree with a lot of what you just said.
I get very passionate about this because I think that you need, as a child, you need to have a little bit of sandpaper to it. You need a little bit of grit, and I think that's the only way you're going to learn it is through being in situations that are difficult. And everyone wants the best for their kids. I understand that. And you're not going to throw your kid into the lion's den at the zoo and go and say, hey, look, you're in Gen Pop now, so figure it out for yourself. But I also think that being able to manipulate and see what's going on and maneuver through those waters of the public school and everything else is good for them because they'll come out ahead. They'll come out knowing how to tell some kid to beat it or stick up for someone else. Whereas I think
Amy's dad is in the house.
Yeah, well,
kids need a little sandpaper.
Or I think sometimes a kid does need a punch in the face to learn a lesson.
Okay, we're derailing.
You're right.
All right. No, I agree with I agree with what you're saying. And I grew up in a private Christian school and I loved it. But I was also, it worked out okay for me because I was the kid who asked questions about everything and I made it out okay, even though I was, as much as possible, my parents tried to keep us in a little bit of a bubble in that sense. So my thoughts are on it. Number one, I have no expectation that, teachers or anyone within the school system is here to raise my kids. So the reason that we have decided probably for another 2 years or so to have our kids in the school system, the mainstream school system, is because I want to be able to have a lot of those important conversations at home. So because I don't have an expectation that anyone else is here to raise my children, I want them to be able to see what's going on in their world and to interact with a lot of different kids, like you said, kids that come from all backgrounds, all kinds of homes, and really navigate those conversations together. So, I think that what the focus really is for us is to have a very solid, safe space when they come home and open conversations. We try to create those opportunities, whether it's sitting around the table at night or One of our favorite things to do is at night, we'll lie with the kids for about 30 minutes, each about like we'll take one, I'll have one, you'll have the other, and we'll just lie and talk with them about their day and talk through their questions.
Or
rock climb. But I don't want them to not know some of the things going on in our world. And this person in their question, they said, why would you want them exposed to things like a food guide or to the vaccination schedule or things that maybe I don't agree with? It's because I want to be able to have those conversations with them and why, so that is why. And to be honest, our plan is in about 2 years' time, we're taking our kids out of the school system and we're going to do life together. We're going to integrate a more evolved system for them.
I think it goes back to this ownership thing. We're not doing our job as a parent if we're just sending them out the door, letting them get what they get in their heads, come home, and we're not asking about it. We're not finding out what they're learning. We're not questioning. They're not questioning us. We're not giving feedback to them. And that's that ownership. Don't let someone else determine how your kid's going to come home that night and determine how they're going to grow up, right? Well,
and also it helps fulfill part of my purpose. I enjoy these conversations. If it ever got to a point where something was being forced on our children at school, let's say mandatory vaccinations, and I'm not interested right now in cracking open that can of worms, but if it did get to the point, I want you to know I will be one of the women, mothers, leaders, part of that conversation. I will stand up to that conversation. The food guide I'm not concerned with at all because it's a joke. I mean, there are always going to be things that have to be in place to serve certain agendas. That's just the way it works, right? So I don't think I don't think we are serving our kids by keeping them in the dark on these issues. I want to have the conversation with them.
Right.
Okay, last question, and then we'll end for today. How do you reach people outside of your warm market? That was the question. Okay, so you want to give Catherine a fist bump there?
Catherine Kerrigan, you're my favorite.
I thought I was your favorite.
Online.
You guys, he used to tell me that I was his favorite girl when we were dating. I don't think he understood what that word means. He thought he was being all cute. He'd be like, you're my favorite. He'd like sign off to my favorite girl. Like, favorite of how many? Do we understand that? Okay.
Proceed.
How do you reach people outside of your warm market? Really, my very clear answer to this is you create opportunities for them to find you, first of all. So being consistent in some form on social media, because social media is going to be the way that you reach people outside of where you live, right? So a lot of people, when they're building a doTERRA business, they'll tap into their local market first. Absolutely, you want to serve your neighbors, serve your communities locally, and then you want to bring it out to the next circle, right? Social media is where that is. So the main thing with reaching out to people that you don't really have that trust relationship with yet is be prepared for about 6 months of nurturing that. Don't think that you're going to reach out to somebody and within 2 conversations, they're going to believe what you're saying or be interested in what you're saying. You really need to develop that relationship and nurture that. But I do have a script, if you will, that I want to give you if you're looking to grow outside of your local market. So if you want to write this down, I think you'll find it really helpful because it removes that weird, awkward kind of...
You like toilet paper. You use toilet paper.
Okay, so here's kind of a script, if you will, that you can use to reach out and grow your outside of your warm market. So what you want to do is you want to either think of somebody that you know in an area where you would like to grow, or if you don't know anybody in that area, you figure out who is somebody that lives in that area that is an influencer within the health space. So let's say you want to grow your business in Mexico. But let's say you don't know anybody in Mexico, you might start following Instagram feeds on tourism in Mexico and try to figure out who are the people there that are driving a health movement? Who are the yoga teachers there? Who are the health coaches that live there? Who's leading retreats there? So you look for those kinds of people because those are the people that are really going to be very passionate about doTERRA essential oils, and because it really integrates for them, right? So you find those key people, then you reach out to them and you say something like this. Hey, I've been following you for a while. I'm so inspired by what you're creating there. I have an opportunity for someone there to grow a natural health business. Okay, I'm expanding that area. I realize this opportunity might not be something you feel you have time for right now, but since you're so recognized in your community and people love you there, is there someone you would like to offer this opportunity to? Because guess what? People who are out there already sharing, already changing lives, helping people, they would love to be the reason that someone else had a great opportunity given to them, okay? Because that's their heart. But typically what happens is that person comes back to you and says, well, actually, I would be interested in what you're doing. Tell me more about it. So it's a very safe conversation to have to grow outside of your warm market. You look for the leaders that are already there. You kind of offer them the opportunity to give this to someone else. At the same time, they're probably self-selecting.
The reason. Great Hoobastank song from the great TV show, The OC.
Speaking of segues.
Yeah, talking about segues.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. It just came up when you said the reason. It's a bad song from back in...
Hoobastank.
Yeah, Hoobastank. That's right.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
All right,
next
guys.
week's podcast, we'll be doing trivia on 80s and 90s, early 2000s.
I would love that.
Music. And no one will beat me.
You're right.
No one.
You're right.
All right.
TV trivia, music trivia, you always win. Great, I'm glad you guys like that. And you can think of any conversations you're trying to have. You can always reverse it and remove the awkwardness of it if that person you're talking to doesn't feel like you're like going after them or recruiting them. Like you need to make it more gentle and something that they choose into. Yes. Like a third-party approach, exactly. Any last comments before we hop off? Kara, you asked at what rank do you think it is time to do that? I would say right around the premier level, because you're going to get to elite by really working in your local community, teaching lots of classes. A lot of people will go to premier on their own, to be honest. You typically, before premier, you still don't quite have the leadership posture to be talking about the work you're doing, AKA talking about the business. So you haven't really attracted leaders to what you're doing yet. So you'll probably hit premier because of your own doing. Be prepared for that, you guys. Don't sit back at elite and have a pity party because you don't have leaders yet. It's because you're not actually talking about what you're doing in a powerful way yet. You just haven't evolved into that yet. But you got to get out there and do that a little bit. So yeah, I would say right around that premier level, it's time to start expanding out of your local area and start thinking about who those influencers are in areas you'd like to grow. So some of our girls are on here from Florida, Catherine Kerrigan, Anna was on here, Anna Bordner. So we love Jupiter, Florida. This is where we're gonna have a home eventually. We spend a lot of our winter there. So we grew a team there. So Anna's like one of our powerful leaders there, Catherine as well. So we, because that's an area we want to be in, so that's where we wanted to expand into. And I love these girls. I love that, when we go, we'll often hook up at least once and do something like oils related while we're there, but it's awesome. Okay, any other comments from the live group? Ooh, you've got someone who's going to take you up on that music trivia challenge.
No.
Alrighty, so good to be on with you guys. Ruby said, can you have a talk all about how to talk about the business with confidence? Yeah.
Next week?
Not next week, we won't be on next week, but I'll take a note on that. Yeah, why don't we do a session coming up on like what this really is, how to really talk about this business, because it's really unique. You need to have some points that you make to people so they understand what this really is all about.
Great question, Ruby.
And I mean, you guys will notice a lot of these weekly episodes, I'm weaving into the topic this idea of, you know, yes, like in doTERRA, yes, we know it's the oils and all this, but there's so much more going on behind the scenes, right? And that's what I see in this business. Like this, I really believe, and I mean, I've been in business for myself years before doTERRA. I was very successful in a corporate job for 10 years before I became an entrepreneur. I've played in a lot of different arenas, but at the end of the day, when all is said and done, like this business is unique in doTERRA because it gives you the opportunity to grow into your best self and lead others to do that. It's like, it is a business of greatness and sharing that. And I don't feel cheesy saying that, because it truly is.
And it gives you confidence. You have to have confidence. It gives you confidence. You feel part of a community, and you put the work in that needs to get done, right? And that, if you're putting the work in and seeing those results over time or quickly or whatever, that confidence is going to grow and grow and grow. And this is what it's all about, guys. This is what about, you know, what I was talking about earlier, saying no. It's about having the confidence to do something that you really want to do, and not taking a back seat to someone else's opinion, and not taking a back seat to, I shouldn't be doing this because I'm at a certain age, or I have kids, or a husband, or whatever. This is something that, if you want to do it, you have to put your head down and do it, right? This is what it becomes. It just, there's really no secret. There's blueprints out there, but it all comes down to one thing. It just comes down to your confidence, and you can pick up confidence along the way. You don't have to start out being the know-it-all, the person that I can do this no matter what, anything else. But if you stick with this, you will learn confidence along the way. You'll pick it up every single day, and overnight, it's not going to happen. But along the way, you're going to be a leader, and you're going to find yourself with people coming to you, asking the questions on how you became you. And you'll look back and you'll think, wow, it wasn't that long ago that I was a person asking the questions that you're asking. And then it's your job to pass that on to everyone else. And it goes around in a circle. Mm-hmm. But it's confidence, guys. You're going to get it.
And personal development.
Yes.
Yeah. So we will do this topic. We see a lot of you commenting on Facebook, just with like, this is a mutual, you know, concern of yours. So you bet we'll do it. Now, when the next broadcast that we're back up live is actually going to be in the middle of the Ready, Set, Glow detox. So I thought for the topic that week, I would actually speak to some of the top ways to support a holistic life cleanse. Like, what are the key things I have people doing in this detox that are moving their health to the next level? So I'm going to do that as the topic in 2 weeks, and then we'll likely take this topic that Ruby put forward 3 weeks from now. All right. Peace out.
Bye.
We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.